This is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, September 17th, and we are not having the greatest of experience. We need to play some priest cards, and we need to get a major shaman victory. So let's find some priest cards to play and play that. Control priest, standard play, play unranked, it doesn't matter. Let's go. We've got a ton of news to talk about, but the good news is I have had an epiphany. I'm going to go on a video game news diet, pretty much. I'm going to mute PC Gamer and anybody else that really is just putting out articles that are unimportant, either because they are just hyping up games I would have seen on What's on Steam when they came out. And they're usually hyping up games way earlier than when the game is going to come out. Or they're just making, you know, SJW articles that just irritate me. And they're making the controversy. They're reporting their spin on the controversy. Nothing gets resolved. None of it mattered. It might as well have not existed. And, you know, some job listings might get lost in the middle of that. And there might be a few other articles that might have been interesting to read that I'm just willing to lose in the hope for a better mental positioning and health in the long run. Gamma Sutra, though, has an article. We're still going to go through to the articles today. Disney shuts down Star Wars Rivals following a soft launch. Disney has opted to shut down its free-to-play mobile game Star Wars Rivals ahead of its official launch, which is kind of surprising that Disney even bothered to launch it, because as I understood it, the Disney's intentions with the development of video games had since ceased about a year ago. And so maybe this was just something that was to my side. Maybe something that they wanted to just push out, and or they somehow were contractually obliged to push it out, but they didn't really want to support it. Like, I don't know how else you get to that point. Let's see. Star Wars Rival saw its release in 10 countries in June 2017, including Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, and the Philippines. So apparently it wasn't even in the United States. Disney notes that the in-app purchases have also been shut down ahead of full retirement, but that's not offering any sort of refund for those that spent money on the game's in-game currency since its soft launch last year. So you're screwed if you spend any money on it, but I imagine most people would have figured that out. So yeah, they were probably just trying to get little bits of money out of it, trying to recoup their expenses. Yeah, I really wouldn't trust any Disney products, any Disney video games. Disney is licensing its games right now to EA for Battlefront, and you saw how bad that went. It is going to be a growing issue with mobile games as just the Apple iStore and the Google Play Store and all the other mobile company stores get flooded with these games that have long since been abandoned. Like, I'm playing right now a game that's been abandoned for really no reason other than I'm just bored and uninterested in doing something else. And yeah, you can barely play the game because it's so built around the idea of getting you to make microtransactions and buy things. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Escape from the Princess, which is interesting phrasing. Rosetta dreams of nothing, dreams of becoming a magician, but she isn't cut out for it. Fate brings her together with the mysterious witch, who is pursued by the princess herself. The witch promises to make Rosetta a magician in return for her help, but Rosetta ... This is tagged sexual content and nudity. It seems like this is a Western anime style drawing. It actually looks like rather good quality in its drawing. And that's something you certainly don't see a lot of. Usually it's all down to being just awful quality. So there is a red-haired girl, and then there is a purple-haired, like, Arabic girl. So I guess the Arabic girl is probably the witch, if I was to guess. Or maybe not. And they seem to be in every single scene, and they seem to be working together. It seems odd that they're being chased by a princess, but it also kind of seems like they are in a world that might be full of, well, there were some male guards, it looks like. But it looks like the princess is in charge. This doesn't look too bad right now for what is a probably just sex visual novel. It's $7.99. It's 3 to 4 hours with multiple endings, and 20 achievements. Why am I talking about achievements? That's another thing I should just stop talking about, because that's not something that matters at all. Let's see.
Meddlesome insects.
It's just
Job's done. I will hunt you down quickly.
This is from a developer who has made 3 other games. One is 86% positive, called Never Give Up, of 53 users. One is called These Nights in Cairo, which is 91% positive and 73 user reviews. One is called Sweet Fantasy, which is 82 positive and 201 user reviews. So each of their games, they seem to be doing quality. So they're going to the wish list. Now, how I would ever cover a sex visual novel on my channel, I don't know. Probably never. But I'll put it on the wish list either. And maybe at the end of the year, I will decide to move a lot of those to a follow list. Moving on, we have a game called Solar Explorer New Dawn. Action indie simulation game. What I'm seeing in the trailer is you're flying in between a green line in a spaceship towards a planet. And if you get outside of this trajectory line, you run the risk of crashing or hitting asteroids. So that's certainly interesting. And then the trailer changed, and now you've turned it around the other way, and you're firing retro rockets and avoiding asteroids. Even if you're within the green band, though, it seems like you're still very much at the risk of running into asteroids. Is the entire game, though, just landing on a planet, or is that just a mini game section? Because, like, it's very Kerbal Space programming looking. Well, it actually looks a lot better than that. Yeah, and that seems like that's the entire game, is just landing. So it's less than Kerbal Space Program, because at least Kerbal Space Program had development and other things to do. This is literally just flying around and landing. Maybe there's some modes where you can change some things and build different landers, but the vast majority of it looks way too simplistic.
Quickly.
Let's do this.
What is my purpose?
And return. I should have attacked. Solar Explorer New Dawn is 15% off for $11.04. It's a physics-based lunar landed arcade video game, is what it describes itself as. I would describe it as a cool-looking concept that certainly could not be justified paying that amount of money for. What they needed to have in this system was something that just more to do. A lot more to do. If that was how you landed things in Kerbal Space Program, I'd like Kerbal Space Program a little bit better, but if that was all you did in Kerbal Space Programming, no. Next we have an early access game called Guards of the Gate. Looks like it's a top-down, hex-based RPG-esque game. Graphics don't look terrible, but also it doesn't look like it's very much of anything. How much do they want for this early access game? 15% off for $8.49. And this is the third game this developer has made, and, well, second game they've released, and nothing's got reviewed. So, no interest there. This. And this. And this. And this. And this. Go ahead and hit that one. And
right away.
To that one. And in the turn. We have a game on Steam called Fear for sale. City of the Past Collector's Edition. This is another Big Fish game, hidden object game. $12.99, as they all are. Nothing new needs to really be said about those. I'm so ready to go here.
Medicine insects.
All I need to do is clear a path and double up here. Gamma Sutra has an article. The Assassin's Creed 3 creative director explains how he'd update the remaster. Assassin's Creed 3 was announced that a remaster was going to be made. Now, here's a question. I own Assassin's Creed 3. Am I going to get a patch and update it, or am I going to have to buy that game again? Because I don't think it's really worth buying again. honestly. And I don't know, it's not a remake, it's just a remaster. They're just gonna update the graphics. Assassin's Creed 3 is also the point where these games stopped being idealized. Let's see. We could do this. And we could do this. And we can do this, this, and we can do this. And then we can end the turn. Let's see, let's read this article. For starters, he incorporates some of the optional side missions into the main narrative, probably because they help present a more well-rounded view of the protagonist Connor, making him a well-endearing, humanistic figure. It also brings out some of the cool naval encounters into the main flow, as he feels the game's best content was missed by some players. Hutchinson also concedes that the game's intro segment, which sees player taking the role of Connor's father, was overstuffed and only served to slow players down into getting into the main event. That being said, the creative director still likes the idea of introducing a second playable character, but believes the intro should have been broken down into bite-sized chunks, interspersed throughout the main game.
Nick! Oh, a shadow.
Let's see, what did that do? I don't think I did anything. I screwed up. Curiously, he also explained the introduction was kept secret internally, mainly because marketing would have been all over it like a frog on a rock, ruining the surprise before the game had even launched. Okay, but I doubt any of that happens. I bet Assassin's Creed 3 is just remastered graphics, remastered engine, remastered audio, and I bet the engine isn't really that remastered even, which maybe then I take a bit of a break and don't play Assassin's Creed 3 because that's the next Assassin's Creed game to play. But actually that would be poor planning on my part. Knowing that now an Assassin's Creed remake is going to get released, I should try to get Assassin's Creed 3 out and covered as to line up with that release date, so that my coverage of the old game will have some relevancy. That's almost as close to playing a brand new game when a brand new game comes out. Moving on, we have a game called Gamer Sensei Range Royale. This is one of these games that is just an asset flip that pretends like it's going to help you improve your ability to play games like PUBG and Fortnite and famous games. It's 15% off for $5.09, but it's really just an asset flip for a first-person shooter. And if you want to get good at games, you should play the game you want to get good to, not some kind of trainer, something that claims it's a trainer game.
Like to play with fire? Like to play with fire?
Well, that didn't work. Gematsu has an article. Kowloon Yuma, Y-O-U-M-A, Gakuen Ki remaster seemingly teased for the PS4 and Switch. This is seems like it's some Japanese game I've never even heard of. It must have never been translated because. Let's see. Well, if it's not coming to PC and they're not translating the name, I don't know what Kowloon, Kowloon, Yuma is. So I'll just go and skip that article. I'm just playing cards right now. We got a game on Steam called Chop It. It's a VR rhythm game about chopping and punching away through a glorious funkadelic victory, it says. So there's a character that's throwing wooden boards at you, and you have to swing your arms and chop it, and karate chop the boards, which that would never work in a million years. It's Ninja Fruit Slice is all this is, just with a different thing. And I'm not sure the rhythm element there adds anything that's interesting at all. Well, it's VR anyway, so I'm never going to play the game. It's $9.99. Maybe for that price you check it out, because VR games that are even worth playing are pretty scarce. Moving on, we have a game called The Orphan Soul on Steam. Let's see, what is this? It looks like it's a visual novel-esque game using CG animation of characters that have probably been pre-bought, and probably CG backgrounds. This looks like a low-effort game, if not an extremely low-effort game. 10% off for $3.59, and just for its visual ugliness and just looking like a visual novel game, I'm going to ignore it and dismiss it. And move on. PC Gamer has an interesting article, and Linus Torvalds is taking time off from Linux to work on his, quote, unprofessional attitude. Linux creator is temporarily stepping away in hopes to returning a better person. I'd like to hear what this quote actually was, because if it's one thing that Linus Torvalds has always been good for, it's good for a laugh of just his slightly aggressive response to being inundated by challenges and questioning by the same groups of people over and over again. One of the things that most people wouldn't know is that there's this whole side group called BSD, or was it the GNU? People, like everybody in Linux in general is a little bit testy with each other, I guess is the best way. Everybody's got their own little agenda. Everybody wants things done their own way. This is nerds at their greatest, like arguing over things, and Linus is the only man of character, I think, that could have held Linux together to make it as far as it has, because so many other people would have bent over and kowtowed to something and let it devolve and fall into something. Linus made an announcement in an open letter to the Linux community shared through the Linux kernel mailing list, in which he acknowledged that he's not an emotionally empathetic kind of person, end quote, and that his rough attitude may have driven talented developers away from Linux. He also apologized for his flippant attacks and emails that were sometimes personal. The week people in our community confronted me about my lifetime of not understanding emotions. My flippant attacks and emails have been both unprofessional and uncalled for, especially at times when I made it personal. In my quest for a better patch, this made sense to me. I know now that this was not okay, and I'm truly sorry," says Linus Torvalds. I'm not sure Linus speaks English as his first language, so that might bring some of that too. What you might be hearing here is either the beginning of a new dawn for Linux, or it might be the death of Linux, which would be hard to kill it. But I mean, if we start seeing less security patches, worse security patches, people putting things that should not be in the kernel space in the kernel space, like things that would cause the entirety of the operating system to run worse, which is part of the complaint about Windows, is that things are put into Windows kernel space that shouldn't be there. Like, that could all be very bad, a bad outcome. Quote goes, "I need to change some of my behavior, and I want to apologize to people that my personal behavior hurt and possibly drove away from the kernel development entirely. I'm going to take time off and get some assistance on how to understand people's emotion and respond appropriately." So it seems like somebody has gotten into his ear, and they're going to put him through the SJW brainwashing, maybe. I mean, I don't know. He certainly could take it that way. If Linus Torvalds comes back and he is ragingly progressive,
if you make a wild deck, you can only use it in wild games.
That will be crazy. That would be crazy. On the other hand, maybe not. You know, maybe that's not what's going to happen. Yeah, I need to build a deck with just weapons. Just a full-on weapon stack. Take that and that, and then we'll just name this weapons. There we go. Not quite spelled correctly, but whatever. Close enough. Run over here. The real danger here certainly is that Linux, he really is the king of Linux, and without a king it could fall apart, and there's a lot of people who will tear it down and destroy it. And so this is very dangerous. Like, if he needed to be a jerk to get that to happen, then he needed to be a jerk. Like, one of the things certainly was NVIDIA. He has often complained, just writes very bad open source drivers to force people into using Linux proprietary drivers, and they're just not willing to do that. A lot of people legally can't. Here's a paragraph just for an example. Back in 2014, Lennart Pottering, creator of the System-D system management software for Linux, called the open source world quite a sick place to be in quote, because it's full of a-holes. He specifically called out Torvalds, noting that his brass style of management is not effective an effective, efficient way to run a community. I'd argue it is, though. That's the thing is, when you think about leaders and dictators, they keep things in line and they get it to run. And Linux would not have worked well as a democracy. Computer software just doesn't work that way. Businesses just don't work that way. So, and in all actuality, unless you've been following the Linux community, you probably have never even heard of Linus Torvalds. Never even heard of him. The final paragraph here says Torvalds is not burned out on Linux and very much wants to continue overseeing its development. However, he has taken a moment of pause. While he's away, developer Greg Crow Harmon will step into his place.
I wonder.
I wouldn't be surprised. This would be an odd excuse for something else, wouldn't it? Like, if it turned out that he was actually sick and didn't want to tell people if he had like cancer or something, it would be odd to say I'm stepping down because of my behavior. Look at Apple CEO, the one that died, Steve Jobs. Total jerk. Everybody that knows him knows he was a total jerk. Look at Bill Gates. When he was running Windows, was a bit of a jerk. That's just how it goes with people who are thinking about computer code. They don't have in their brains the capability of thinking about emotions. And if you start thinking about emotions and worrying about it, guess what? You probably don't have enough capacity in your brain to think about the programming anymore. So I'd really hate to see the programming on the most important part of Linux suffer because Linus Torvalds is afraid of hurting somebody's feelings.
Another concoction.
That was
So
wild.
this is actually more concerning than anything. It will eventually affect, if this goes on long enough, it will eventually affect Android operating systems, which is built on Linux. It would eventually affect Apple software, which is based on BSD, which is kind of based on Linux too. I'm sure that effect will happen. But I guess I'll have to just wait and see.
A wild miscalculation.
We don't need to talk about that article because that's just an ad. We have a game on Steam called Din's Legacy. What is this? Top-down fantasy Diablo-esque game. It doesn't look very good. It requires a third-party EULA. Early access 10% off for $13.49. I'm not interested in that.
What now?
It's from a developer who doesn't seem to have made anything else that catches my eye either. Okay.
Delightful.
This. And this. Play this. And in return. Next we have a game on Steam called Crime Girl. It looks like it's a horribly animated platformer with grappling hooks. There probably is a little bit more programming in this than you would normally see for something that I would classify as a first year programming student's project. But this still very much is just a first year's programming project. 20% off for $7.99. Ridiculously expensive for how ugly this looks. There's probably been, no joke, at least half a dozen platforming grappling hook games that have come out in the past 2 months that this is competing against, and this looks nowhere as good as any of them. And most of them still weren't worth playing. Next we have a game called Pirate Island Rescue. What does this say? Action indie casual platformer. again, something that looks more like a first-year computer programmer's project instead of a real game. Let's see. This game is 20% off for $2.39. No thank you. Close that tab. Next we have a game on Steam called Master of Rogues, the 7 Artifacts, which looks like it's a roguelike game, top-down RPG experience. And it just looks like MS Paint level graphics, again, just not visually appealing. I think you really have to get that visual appeal in there. Regardless of what kind of game, you just don't even think about making a game if you're going to make an 8-bit game or a 16-bit. It's not going to work. It's not going to sell to me. I don't think it's going to sell to enough people to make your money back. Let's see. I'm going to die. I'm going to die and still not have played 6 weapons. Yeah, close that tab. Next we have a game called The True Slime King, where you're platforming and jumping around.
What if?
It's a Super Meat Boy clone, but the graphics still aren't quite as good as I'd like to see them. So another game just to skip. Early access, $14.99. I don't think we need Super Meat Boy clones for as many as have been made. Let's see if we can get this to work. PC Gamer has an article. Steam's first uncensored adult game release restricted in 28 countries, which this is, I believe, a good thing. This is exactly the way it needed to happen, the way it kind of had to happen, is that the restrictive, horrible countries that don't have freedom of speech and are pro-censorship were going to censor games, but at least I believe the United States recognizes around 120 countries around the world, so at least 90 of the other countries are theoretically able to get these games, which is better than 100% of all the countries around the world not being able to get the game on Steam, or 100% of the countries only being able to get a censored version that would have been approved by these 28 countries.
The land
and
serves me.
Bathe in flames.
And like a lot of countries just have generic like laws that would ban certain games anyways. Let's see. The post says several of the restricted countries banned the game, which prompted us to realize that we can't release it under the radar. You'd think that it's ludicrous, but Darker Studio Ltd is a company. If we release a game in a country where the content is illegal or could be considered illegal, then we potentially suffer. We could suffer. If they find or targeted Steam as per our agreement with Steam with Darker Studio, would be liable for all costs and damages, which would end our company. We are a small indie developer and we do not have the resources for such costs whilst making games. Darker says it must err on the side of caution and notes that those living in restricted countries can purchase negotiate love stories by other means. The full list of the restricted countries include Japan, odd, Malaysia, Botswana, Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, South Africa, Sudan, Uganda, Bangladesh, China, Lebanon, South Korea, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkmenistan, Belarus, Iceland, Ukraine, Russia, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Ghana, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. What is that? The United... I don't know what the UAE stands for even. And Germany. Let's see. The question here is, was it banned by these countries? Because that seems like really fast action by those companies. Or did Darker Studios just ban it? No. No, they're contributing this, really. PC Gamer is. What they're saying is Darker Studio specifically chose to restrict it in these 28 countries. And in effort to not be banned or fined. So it was their choice. Which, you know, the choice to not speak is part of also the freedom of speech. So, let's see. It says, before we begin, I want to say that Darker Studios Limited, did not want to restrict any countries. If it was up to me, the game would be freely available to everyone no matter where you are. Sadly, every country has its own laws and rules, and different countries are strict or lax on different things. We have no choice but to abide by these laws for the sale of our games. More details on our position on restricting the game can be found below in the message. So in Darker Studios' understanding with the laws, they have chosen to restrict the sale of these games. Oh, and you know why it's restricted in Japan? Because that's the one that really got me. Is Japan does have a censorship law. You cannot show lower genitalia at all in any form of art. It's so laxly followed as a law that I basically forgot it existed. Oops. Let's just play that. Should have played that first. So I imagine each of these laws have something along that level. Each of the countries have something along that level. In the end, this is still a good thing. Like, it's not how PC Gamers is, I think, trying to put it here, is to say this game negligee, which is really not that offensive a game. I could definitely pick quite a few more. Is so offensive that it should have been censored all around the world, because that's really what PC Gamer's article is trying to push here. It's nefariously pushing that idea that it should have been censored everywhere, but we were clearly right because these 28 countries restricted it. But that's not even the truth. Nobody has censored this game other than the developers of the game in attempts to comply with laws as they understand it. Let's see.
The Earth Mother was busy.
Moving on, Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. The Overwatch Linux ban troubles seem to be resolved. As the year of Linux desktop rolls on, a number of Linuxers playing Overwatch have reportedly been banned for supposedly cheating, then seemingly unbanned after Blizzard released it was a technical hiccup. Okay, yeah, that was an old story from several weeks ago. So yeah, I guess you're now back to being safe, and if you want to play Overwatch on Linux, for whatever little bit that's worth. Let's see, we have a game on Steam called Space Pirate Amai, A-M-A-I. It's scroll to the top shooter space game. It looks really bad, very simplistic. animation. It's $2.99, so let's close that tab. Let's see. PC Gamer has an article on how to enhance your Windows desktop. What are these tweaks going to be?
What now?
Fences. If you install software. Classic Shell. Winero. This is just folder maker. F.lux. Yeah, they're just suggesting a bunch of old games that old apps that you would have used on Windows in the old days. Things that probably aren't really worth installing these days. Docs. Yeah, that's a stupid article. More reason why I'm ready to more articles that make me happy to be swearing off looking at PC Gamer articles. Still just trying to play this as possible. Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox, retweeted a Frisco article because Gearbox is in Frisco, so like it's an effort to bring more business to Frisco, Texas, which Frisco, Texas is just outside of Dallas, Texas. So he's on this. It goes it goes I am, and then the name of the person, and he's the second person. It's I am Randy Pitchford, and then on the side it says, see how Randy is making video game magic in Frisco. Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox Software. He's put in the likes of Charlotte Jones Anderson, who is the chief brand officer of the Dallas Cowboys, and Tammy Mangershan, who is a executive director for Frisco Arts, and Ken Koo, who is a tech investor. So there's like 4 people. Like they Of course, it really hurts your argument to say Frisco, Texas is that great and include Gearbox, because Gearbox just recently opened a Canadian office too, so yeah, like I'm sure Frisco's a fine place to work and run a business. I bet the taxes are pretty low, and the regulations are probably low. Texas being a non-union state, you don't have to pay the employees that much. But yeah, certainly hurts your argument when you just earlier this year started a Canadian office. And now, finally, in this stream, we are on the Asian account. 2 games of any class, Rogue and Warrior, Paladin class cards. So let's start with Tempo Rogue, see if we can get here. I doubt we'll get with Mech Warrior. We talked about this earlier, but TechRaptor has this article, Democracy Dev's Facebook ads were blocked as political ads. The game, Democracy 4, is trying to be announced, and Facebook certainly is getting crazy with its censorship too. They're doing anything and everything kind of like YouTube did, to just block everything, and they don't care if it gets a bunch of false positives. They just want to, for the most part, completely silence and eliminate anything that will cause them any kind of trouble whatsoever. I'm not sure if you really would merge the two problems of like Alex Jones being kicked off of Facebook and banned as also a part of that. It certainly is part of that, but I think there's probably too much difference between auto-detecting political ads and fake news on Facebook and Alex Jones getting banned and targeted specifically, because I think the auto-detected ads would have been kicked off regardless. Moving on, we have a game called Hindere Beat, Hinedere space beat. It says it's a pseudo 8-bit quasi-somatic platform with a minor stealth elements and visual novel style. I don't believe it. It looks like it's an MS Paint looking game. Well, it does have platforming. I'm actually surprised. I've seen games that have given long descriptions like that and they're kind of nothing at all. How much do they want for this game? It has 11 achievements. It's 15% off for $1.69. Honestly, if this game came out in 1995, it almost looks like it has CGA level graphics. It was just not very many colors. If this game came out in 95 and looked like this, it would be great, but it's coming out in 2018 and it looks like this, so no, I don't think so. And looking at the other games this developer's made, none of them look impressive either. Alright. Combo. Deal 3 damage, draw a card.
For me!
And
Job's done.
in the turn. Let's see. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article reviewed Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Or Shadows of the Tomb Raider. Seems like they're giving reviews to Tomb Raider 1, which I give a 3 out of 10, Tomb Raider 3, which they give a 1 out of 10, Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, which they give a 5 out of 10, Tomb Raider Legend, which they give a 6 out of 10, Warcraft Temple of Osiris, which they give an 8 out of 10, Tomb Raider 2013, which they get a 9 out of 10, Rise of the Tomb Raider a 9 out of 10, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider 10 out of 10. This is such an incredibly biased, terrible way to write an article. I mean, what do you even say with something like that? It's just like, so you're comparing a game from 1996 to a game that came out in 2018. Like, isn't that 22 years difference? Like, 22 years difference. Unless my math was wrong. There's no way that in 1996 Tomb Raider was rated a 3 out of 10 and it would have gone anywhere to make any sequels. It was definitely a 7 or an 8. It was majorly impressive when it came out. And there's really not a lot of comparison between Lara Croft and Temple of Osiris and Tomb Raider Legends or Tomb Raider the reboot. The 2013 reboot, because Lara Croft Temple of Osiris is a top-down puzzle game. It's ridiculous. What a terrible, terrible article. And that's just another article that makes me happy. I'm gonna mute Rock Paper Shotgun. In fact, I can do it right now. I don't even know why they were unmuted. Like, why was I even listening to them? I thought I had muted them a long time ago. I must have hit a button, or there must have been something that convinced me there was something they had to say that was worth listening to. But now, looking back, if I thought that was the truth, I was wrong.
For me!
Here we go.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Gun Range. It would almost look interesting if it wasn't MS Paint looking graphics. It's like a very fast-paced bullet shooter run and gun game. The animation style looks horrible, but what they're drawing is actually very creative looking stuff. It looks like straight from the minds of either somebody who's smoked a lot of marijuana or gotten a lot of influences. Man, if this just looked good, that's all I'd want. Just for this game to look good, and I'd want to play it. But as it stands, with its end-user license agreement in English and Russian language, I'm not even looking at languages anymore. Like, who cares? Who cares if it's a Russian troll game versus an English troll game? They're all the same. It's 10% off for $8.09. It just looks so bad. Man, that's a shame.
Reporting for duty.
Like, that concept done right would have been cool. Next we have a game on Steam called King of the Dead. You're suffering from dark screenshot syndrome in every single one of these pictures. Seems like what you're doing is you're wandering around an asset flip dungeon looking for the antidote to defeat the plague of some sort, is what it describes itself as. It's early access, 10% off for $5.39. Problem is, every single screenshot is so incredibly dark that there's no way you could possibly recommend this game.
I dream and the world trembles.
Job's done. Get down!
Alright, close that tab. Next we have a game, TAL Arctic 3.
Put your faith in the light.
It's a very generic puzzle, like super easy puzzle game. Walk through a maze. It's a maze game, yeah. One screen, Unity assets, MS Paint graphics. It's just got the full gambit of bad things. 40% off for 59 cents. No, thank you. And I bet there is a TAL2 already. Yep, already out.
I wonder.
Let's see what I want to do. I have like nobody I really need to destroy. And nothing I really need to do, so I'm just gonna do this.
You cannot escape the shadow of death.
Let's see.
I shall bring you rest.
Next we have a game on Steam called Type Fighter. The concept of a typing fighting game is cool in Typing of the Dead. It's never done with any good quality above that, and even Typing of the Dead was a pretty bad quality game. This is no exception. 8-bit graphics of a person just typing things. Seems like maybe you're given multiple words to type depending on what action you want to do. It's 99 cents though, and not interesting. Do I want to kill this one? Or do I want to do this?
There once was a man from Gildan.
Job's done.
Next we have a game called Axto VR. It's another one of these VR games where you stand in place and throw things. Let's see. It looks a little bit more polished. Looks like it's got a little bit more of an idea in it. Although it still definitely feels like they just asset flipped a VR environment for a dungeon, and instead of making a dungeon game, they just put a axe throwing alley, practice axe throwing alley. The targets move in unique and different ways. It's 25% off for $5.24. Let's see. Destroy an enemy. Destroy an enemy. Attack in the turn. If you had VR, Axto VR might be one worth looking at. Next, we have what clearly is just a troll game called Poverty is a Choice. How much are they selling it for? 10% off for $10.79. It's just, I mean, what do you say here? This is straight up trolling. Naming a game that. Straight up trolling. Still need to play some more Paladin class cards. How I played any Paladin class cards while playing as a rogue, I don't know. What's this article? This article was from last week, and I'm still not sure what this is about. PocketGamer.biz has an article. I don't even know how I got to this. The story of triple topping games. Spit Kiss puts polyamory front and center. The trials and tribulations of love is a concept that is seldom explored in video games, or at least in full-heartedly. It's kind of a novelty that ended. Triple Topping's precision platformer game Spit Kiss is another one that delves into love. I'm looking at what this game is, and this looks very much like it's just a Super Meat Boy clone. With maybe a comic strip or some. It says, this quote here, having it as a comic strip really allowed us to mix things we like to read. Let's look at this trailer. This really just looks like it's a platformer of some sort. You're playing as these kind of aliens. It seems like you can't just jump on walls. You have to shoot out a tongue or something. This is a very odd article, and it's really not, I don't think, going to cover polyamory in any real way. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the phrase polyamory, or maybe this is just clickbait straight up.
What to do?
Here we go.
It says, Refstrip explains the concept forms a sort of meta-narrative that represents the trickiness of navigating an open relationship. This is BS. This is just BS. I'm closing this article. It would be cool, certainly, in a story if there was a polyamorous relationship happening in some of the characters. Like, you could certainly squeeze that in as just a side thing in, like, the Mass Effect series, where you can pick that. Some of those characters, that's that would not be out of character. Witcher 3, Geralt of Rivia, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up something like that, but they didn't write it that way. But making just a mobile game and saying that's what your game is about when it really isn't is just the highest level of pretentiousness that I can think of.
Here we go.
We have a game on Steam called Metron Cube. It's tagged sexual content. Take part in a space exploration whose mission is to explore and investigate the mysterious space installation. This just looks like a Windows 95 game with a bunch of assets in it. Doesn't look like it really would have sexual content. I saw a... Oh well, maybe they did put a bed and a woman in the bed in one of these screenshots, so they crammed it in there for no reason. It looks like it's a Windows 95 first-person shooter game. Graphics look bad. The enemies look like generic zombies. Yeah, there is a bed screenshot that they're focusing on with a woman in it. Let's see. This.
Here we go.
This game is called Neo.ca. It's $9.99. Is that what this was called? No, it was called Metron Cube. And they're saying it's adults only on the rating. Please note this game is complete but will continue to grow. At a certain point the price will increase. Yeah, this is all BS. Close that tab.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
Next we have a game on Steam called Great Old One Arrival. Let's see, it's an action role-playing game developed by two independent game enthusiasts. Action RPG tags. Looks like it's a top-down Diablo-esque hack and slash game. Doesn't look like it has much of an interface. The graphics don't look terrible. You know what? I feel like want to be a little bit more generous on this just because they said it was two independent developers that made it. And to be fair, there are some textures here that make this look a little bit prettier than most of the games we've seen like this. It's early access, 10% off for $8.99. But I still feel like the price is too high. I still feel like you're not really doing anything good, better than what many people have already done a lot better. So even though I'd like to be generous, I also have to be realistic. Let's see.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
Let's
I must choose soon.
Do I want to attack? Not sure I do. We have a game on Steam called Construction Simulator 2 US Pocket Edition. It's mixed results, 62% of 75 user reviews. It came out September 13th. Taking a cell phone game, which is what this clearly is, and putting it on Steam is not acceptable. At the very least, you would want to say, hey, this is the Steam edition of the game, not just the Pocket edition. This game also has 76 achievements, which is suspect, and it's $11.99. While a construction simulator game might be very appealing, particularly to extremely young kids who love the big trucks. This
I got the best deals
does not look like it's a good quality product.
I hope you like my invention.
I'm just gonna fill up my...
I hope you like my invention.
Jeez, you could really just
Too soon.
keep on drawing cards.
Job done.
Let's see. Next, we have a game called Everyday Baseball VR. Says it's an RPG simulation sports game. It's got a video. Actually, this doesn't look too bad. And a VR baseball concept doesn't sound insane. Let's see, 34% off for $9.89.
I wonder.
The gameplay mode right now is just home run derby mode. Though you'd want to be able to play, I think, more than that in baseball, but I don't know how you run to the bases. That's where it starts to fall apart.
Oh, if you're sure.
But yeah, I'd say check out Home Run Derby Baseball if you want to just do that.
They grow up.
Of course, this developer made Everyday Golf VR, which is 60% positive, and that came out July 12th, 2017. So they don't have a real lineage behind them of doing a good job.
My hand is too full.
Next we have a game on Steam called JJ Boom, which seems like it's a party game, platformer, fighting game. Looks a little bit more thought out than a lot of them. It has a small pixely animation style, but it seems a little sharp in that animation style too. So I wouldn't inherently just dismiss it because of that. I'm just dismissing it because A, it's a party platformer game, and B, it has age resolutions. JJ Boom is 20% off for $7.99. What are we trying to do, by the way? Like, we still haven't gotten anything done. 2 Paladin class cards. Let's see if we can get a victory at the Warrior. And I'm kind of just refusing to make a 4th recording today. I just do not want to do it. So I'm trying to hurry up. Let's see, there's really no reason why this should work, this mech deck. Next we have a game on Steam called Miner Ultimate Wild Tales, which is, it looks like it would be a platformer, but it's also a Sea-Doo game of some sort. Like, regardless of what it's supposed to be, it seems like it's just a crazy combination of things, and none of it is animated very well. It's 25% off for $1.49. Miner Ultra Wild Tides. A Sea-Doo game would be interesting. A Sea-Doo game where you're shooting bullets would be interesting, maybe if you polished it up and explained it a little bit better to me, but they're definitely not doing that. Next we have a game called Ironborn, I-R-O-N-B-O-R-N, one word, it seems. It's tagged RPG Indie Adventure Strategy. It looks like it's probably a visual novel. When you discovered that you have the power to stop an evil menace, what if you discovered to complete the journey you would have to face your own brother, join Dale and his friends on the quest of self-discovery, friendship, and whatever. Yeah, so this looks like a RPG Maker game, but it does seem like they maybe are using the newer RPG Maker software, because the pixels are a little bit more zoomed in, the characters are a little bit better animated. Like, this is straight up a either very, very high quality Western anime style of animation, or this is actually a Japanese company that animated this, or at least an Asian company that animated this with actual skill. But it is still just an RPG Maker game. Let's see what kind of languages it supports. Just English, interesting. 40% off for $2.99. If you're into another Japanese RPG inspired game, it seems like what you'd get. I do have to point out that Ironborn does a very good job with its thumbnail. And it's very, very attractive on that thumbnail, but the game does not match what the thumbnail looks like, really. Let's adjacent minions, magnetic. Yeah, we can do this. GameIndustry.biz has an article: streaming, subscriptions won't be game changers. Take-Two. The CEO Strauss Zelnick believes tech will accelerate adoption of cross-platform play, but won't fundamentally alter Grand Theft Auto's publisher's business. So yeah, they're saying at least that there will be a GTA 6. It won't be just a streaming or subscription-based software. Of course, there are some issues to take from a lot of that too, in that
Truth is my shield.
I'm about to die. Was there a way I could have saved myself? No. There's a quote here: if you're going to create rules that you don't benefit the customers, but somehow you think benefit your enterprise, you're mistaken. Consumers will go elsewhere. Isn't that quote? If you're not sure the subscription model applies to our business, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure the subscription model even applies to our business. It certainly doesn't apply to frontline products, where I guess GTA Online is not considered a frontline product. Let's see. Let's wait a little bit and play this instead. Gematsu has an article: Final Fantasy 7, 9, 10, 10-2 HD Remaster, 12 the Zodiac, and 12 the Zodiac Age are coming to Xbox One and Switch in 2019. So that's pretty much an all-in as far as Square Enix and the Xbox One and Switch. Like, Square Enix wants to make some more money on these older Final Fantasy games, and I think 15 is already on the Xbox One, probably not on the Switch, but they want to squeeze some more money out of that. No real surprise on Square Enix's part, though. That's kind of what they've been doing for a long time. Let's do this.
Job's done.
Gematsu has an article: Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon Everybody announced for the PS4 and Switch. That's a spin-off Final Fantasy game. is, I don't think Tokyo Game Show stuff, but maybe it is. Maybe Tokyo Game Show happened and I blinked. Clearly not too much got announced, or I would have been talking about it all today instead of a bunch of other things. Gamatsu has an article, World of Final Fantasy Maxima, M-A-X-I-M-A, announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This would be an enhanced version of World of Final Fantasy, which I kind of feel like this is more of an MMO game. Let's see if we can gather something more out of what it is. Maybe it's not an MMO. It's an RPG of some sort, clearly. But is it online or is it just a different name? Taunt.
Rest here.
Let's play that one. And play this one. Never played that card, I don't think. And in the turn. Gamatsu has another article, Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition for HD for Switch launches today. Which that's Final Fantasy 15 with just all the graphics looking ugly.
Come dance to my song.
Rock Paper Shotgun has an article called The Joy of Unraveling the Deception in the House of Fate Morgana, which, let's see, I don't know if this visual novel game is even on Steam. Yes, it is. Okay, well, it's a very highly rated visual novel on Steam that came out May 13, 2016. So very possibly I did overlook it, so I'll put it on my wish list to probably never be played, but whatever. This guy's at 16 now. Let's see. I don't have a clue how to do this. I really don't. Let's just do some more damage to him and hope this works. We have a game on Steam called Tavern Guardian's Banquet. It's a match 3 RPG. Every action you take will determine your success against countless monsters and magical creatures. Take up arms. Okay, so a match 3 game. The animation is good. Western fantasy style, I would say. Like, looks like there might be different levels. It looks like there might be a level up system. This does not look bad. It's single player only, so it's not some weird multiplayer. It's early access, and I think that's a slight problem. It says it has 10 plus epic boss fights. I'm gonna put this one on my wish list and check on it when it comes out of early access. Tavern Guardian's Banquet looks like something that could be good. An actual game with actual effort put into it. Let's do this.
Mushroom power! The blade be thirsty. I don't have enough mana.
I screwed that up. Next we have a game called Yumori Forest, Y-U-M-O-R-I Forest. They say it's a violently stylized action game focused on fast-paced combat, chaotic boss fights, and unforgiving difficulty. Alright. What I see is a kind of simply animated top-down twin-stick shooter of some sort, or something like that. Kind of simply animated, lacking in color, lacking in depth and detail. It just kind of looks boring. Every single screenshot looks exactly the same. Let's see, how much do they want for it? 21 achievements, $9.99. Just not seeing anything here that would justify the price. And that puts me at the Humble Bundle, but I've got some other tabs still open. I still have yet to figure out how that works so that the tabs will open in the right place. Let's see, unless this Unity bundle here, it's like Oxenfree, Air, Memories of Old. I think I bought that Unity bundle, yeah. And so it's only the monthly bundle that's even something to concern ourselves with. Gamasutra had an article on the 13th, an obituary for the celebrated Austin artist Michael Priest, M-I-C-A-E-L Priest. Let's see. Priest was best known for his remarkable posters. His work quite literally inspired young artists to be doing poster art for bands. His drawing style and skill at hand drawing text defined the Austin music scene. I don't know what any of this really has to do with video games, though, so I'm not sure really where he comes in. Well, the man died, and that's always sad, but as far as his relevance to the video game scene, this obituary does not say. His art credits a number of studios' most influential games, including Ultima 7, Pagan, Ultima 8, and Ultima Online. Okay, so he at least, if he didn't do the art in those games, he inspired the art in those games. Next we have a game on Steam called Wrath of the Goliaths: Dinosaurs. It honestly looks a little bit more polished than you normally would see for a dinosaur asset flip game. Seems like what you're hunting the dinosaurs though. Let's see. Early access 33% off for $10.04. And 7 user reviews right now. Let's see what the user reviews say. Don't buy this game yet. Wait for updates. This game has a 50-50 chance of freezing your computer when you start a hunt. Here's another not recommended: terrible UI, clunky gameplay, PowerPoint level frame rates, awful stock models with no animations. Play any other dinosaur game, this is awful. Okay. Yeah, and sadly almost every dinosaur game is just designed to convince very young kids who are fans of dinosaurs to buy garbage. Next we have a game on Steam called Daresora, D-A-R-E-S-O-R-A, it seems like that's one word, Tears for an Unknown Sky. Here's a quote, "We know of no creatures more selfish than humans," end quote. How far would you go if your soul was on the line? Find out in Volume 1 of Dare Solar. It's tagged as an adventure, visual novel, anime, and it looks like I'm watching an actual anime intro video. As we're approaching the end of all the games that have come out over the weekend, there is an issue still here. Negligee was the first game to come out fully uncensored on Steam, but we haven't really seen a second one, so there is still this potential chance that Steam is slowing things down, Valve is slowing things down, or Valve is rejecting a bunch of games, kind of in a similar way that the YouTube Partner Program is constantly not really approving people to be back in the Partner Program, even though they met the requirements that they asked for, just because YouTube is jokes. It's basically all of it is. Dare Solar looks like it is definitely a Japanese game animated by a Japanese team. It looks really nice and polished. There's no like sex or nudity tag on this one, and I don't like the idea of it being the first in a series, but I think you kind of have to put up with that in visual novels. There's actually quite a nice mix in this of both male and female characters. I'm not sure what this game really is about, but I think it's probably a mystery or some horrible event. And so, yeah, I think this one is gonna go on my wish list. This is from a publisher who also published a game called Newton and the Apple Tree. Dare Solar is 10% off for $2.69, which actually is rather cheap. Finally we get a victory just by somebody quitting. That is annoying. Let's see. Paladin class cards now, or one victory. All I need to do is get one thing done, and then we'll be done. Next game we have on Steam is HD Poker Texas Hold'em. The high def experiments in this free poker game. Let's see, it's multiplayer and it has in-app purchases, so I bet it's not free, even though it says it's free to play. Free chips. Let's see.
Uther versus Gul'dan.
So yeah, it's free, but then when you run out of chips,
I will fight with honor.
You have to buy more. Here's a review for it. RNG algorithm is garbage. Makes games boring. Literally a fold simulator. Play if you have no life or goals. Arguably, that is exactly what playing poker is you're folding 90% of the time. And that's why, generally specifically, I wouldn't want to play a realistic simulator of I really wouldn't want to play a realistic version of poker, or just poker in general, because of just how much folding and how much time it takes. Here's another review that says, as other negative reviews are saying, there are bots that take your chips. Also, you fold more than you win by a large margin. Better off playing free Texas Hold'em on AOL. This game takes your chips so that you're forced to buy more. And see, that also might be a violation of gambling laws. If you're depicting poker and you're not playing like poker, at least in Vegas, since that would be totally illegal. We'd have to have realistic real-world odds. Moving on, I'm surprised there aren't more poker games on Steam, but I also am surprised that there aren't there isn't a really good poker game on Steam that I've found.
Reporting for duty.
We have a game on Steam called Bug Out, a modern-day survival simulator. It's the year 2019. News is crawling with fear-mongering stories of things to come. The end is near. Climate change, World War III, asteroids, and anything else you can think of. But in the background, you can ... I don't think this game has anything to do with that. It is just a standard low-effort asset flip survivalist game. You do have a bug out bag on your back, or a backpack, but it wouldn't be much of a game if you actually were well prepared for all the things you needed, and that those things lasted well in this survival simulator game.
I fight.
Job done.
Yep, this looks bad. It's early access. It's $14.99 with no discount. Next we have a game called Lotus Simulator, L-O-T-U-S. Let's see. Lotus, I believe, is a train or tram. I don't know, in some area. I don't know where. Seems like it's just a simulator driving trams. It's 67% positive of 50 user reviews, so even the people that would want to play a simulator of driving a trolley or a tram don't seem to like this game. It's $49.99. Oh my goodness. That wins the award for taking the piss, to use a British colloquialism. That is just ridiculously expensive. And we're getting things like the Recore re-release definitive edition selling for $20 on Steam, and they think they can get $50. Wow. Moving on, we have an article from PC Gamer. This upcoming mod turns Borderlands 2 into super hot, and it looks amazing. I haven't really seen a lot of Borderlands 2 mods. Like, I didn't think there really was a modding scene there or much capability to mod it. I'm not sure what you really do to change Borderlands to improve it. Turning it into super hot doesn't seem like it's a super interesting thing. I noticed Randy Pitchford hasn't tweeted about this, so I wouldn't be surprised if also it gets taken down or DMCA'd just because heck they can. I'm looking at the trailer that says this is turning into super hot, and I guess what they've done is they've changed the engine, so as long as you're not moving, nobody else is moving, including the bullets. That's how super hot works. But otherwise, it in no way feels or looks like super hot. It's just Borderlands 2 with the idea of when you stop moving, everything else in the world stops moving. Which, honestly, you probably have to speed up the speed of a lot of the characters in the game for that to make any sense. The characters in Super Hot were moving very, very fast. The mod creator said on Reddit it will be out over the next few days, and you won't be able to play with a gamepad. Okay. So that's me out if I can't play Borderlands with a gamepad.
Let me think.
The light dims, but we fight.
Let's see.
Mushroom power!
We've got a game on Steam called Dragon Checkers.
Job done.
It looks just like checkers.
Let's move quickly.
Let me.
Yeah, this is literally just checkers with a dragon in the background. That's all this game is. I was looking just to see, maybe there's some kind of variation on checkers. But no, it's 99 cents. It says game's AI is poor but will be better. And we have plans to do multiplayer but don't promise. And they didn't even spell the word promise correctly. Just an extremely low effort game. Like, again, what a student project, year one programmer might do. Not something that should be on Steam. Next we have a game on Steam called Rimi, R-I-M-I, Action RPG.
I don't need any of you.
Protocol 7 engaged. Job's done.
Let's see, it's a sandbox game based on an action RPG environment. You have an open map guided by missions, then you have the freedom to choose what you want to do. You can play 2 different characters. See, this feels like this was some Chinese or Japanese game that was half developed. How much do I want for this? 25% off for 74 cents. It's only in English. Like, again, maybe this is a Chinese game that was licensed. Or this was just an asset flip. I mean, this could just be asset flips combined together. And I'm getting confused because the UI looks relatively good. Regardless, it's not really a game in its current state, and the developer is a troll developer that we've seen before. So overhand recruits +2/+2.
Reporting for justice. Reporting for duty.
There you go. Next we have a game called Panko's Journey, P-A-N-C-O. Says it's an indie adventure strategy game. It looks to me like you're playing as a cat and you're playing a platforming game. Platforming area is animated a little nicely, better than a lot of platforming games. Seems like maybe you have some elemental powers, so you have to get yourself wet to turn yourself into a water version of yourself, or set yourself on fire to be a fire version of yourself. It's 15% off for $1.69. It just doesn't have enough of a visual polish to attract me. It's first game from this developer too, so I'm willing to miss that one. I only have like 3 more games to talk about, which is kind of good because we are also hitting a point where let's see, this,
reporting for duty.
This,
to battle. To battle.
This,
to battle.
This,
for justice. Reporting for duty.
in return. We have a game on Steam called Ink Plane. It's a top-down shooter, plane shooter. It's actually interestingly drawn. It's like if somebody was really good at art and they drew it in ink on a white piece of paper. It stands out because of its art thing. It's also widescreen for a top-down shooter, which is interesting. No black bars on the side. And it's not, it doesn't seem like it's space planes. It seems like it's just regular planes. It's 5% off for 94 cents. It's still, though, just a generic top-down shooting game, and it has like 3 missions that you select at the beginning, and that's it. So I still have to reject Ink Plane. Let's see, where are we now? 2 games of every class. and I still need to play like 24 Paladin cards. Next we have a game called Beat that looks like it's just a visual music synthesizer, visualization software. No, it's that game where you have to press a button to turn the line. It's like Line Runner. That's what it's called. It's mixed review, 50% positive of 10 user reviews. So Beat's no good. I think I might also just choose to concede here, although I shouldn't. And we have a game on Steam called Fate Hunters. A challenging dark fantasy roguelike game with card mechanic and deck building. And it looks very polished and well animated, so yeah, this one I think is going on my wish list. I may have already talked about it. It's early access, $14.99. I'm not sure if people are gonna actually play this.
Let's move quickly.
It's only single player right now, so even if I was to play it, it's not like a Hearthstone replacement. And then Gamma Sutra has an article, Welcome to the Magic Circle.
Injured?
It's talking about animating magic circles in games. And myths around it and all of that, and just it doesn't look like it's a very interesting article because it only has like one picture of a magic circle from Yu-Gi-Oh! When you could easily have found several dozen other examples in other places. Right, so we put that there, and that there, and I am done with all the news. So I'm gonna go back to my Twitter account, and let's start by opening up PC Gamer and muting them. I'm done with you, PC Gamer. You are muted. Reason I'm muting instead of unfollowing them is because I don't want to accidentally refollow them.
I don't need any of you.
And be right back to where I was. Let's see. Jackbox Games is posting a bunch of jokes. Play this.
Reporting for duty.
And do this.
Reporting for duty. For me!
And attack. Do I really need to follow YouTube Gaming? Probably. Let's see. Yeah, once PC Gamer is out of my Twitter feed, I'm not really sure who else to mute at that point. Like, once they're out of my life, my Twitter feed might be so better suited. The International Game Developers Association has an article that they retweeted called Jen McLean, Stories of Women in Gaming. Watch Jen McLean discuss her current role, diversity, role models, and representation in games. So if that interests you. Let's see, there's a new game we could talk about on Wednesday. Let's see. Washington State and 15 countries team up over video game gambling concerns. Gamma Sutra article there. Let's see.
Converting stored energy. The battle!
Maybe I could mute Nicholas, but I don't think they tweet enough. Hearthstone episode 1019 aired on my channel 3 hours ago. Eurogamer Sea of Thieves Big Forsaken update delayed until next week. Let's mute Eurogamer. Just, yeah. Here, get you out of my life too. Let's see. Magnetic.
Access denied.
The
Taunt.
light dims, but we fight.
Photonic burst. To battle.
3 plus 2. Attack. Play.
Photonic reporting for duty.
Tech Raptor has an article, Pinball FX3 remastering Williams Table alongside classic incarnations. I want to read that article Wednesday to see if that does that mean you get the Pinball Arcade version somehow in Pinball FX3 and a remastered version, or does that mean, I would take it to mean that they are going to try and do a better job than the original creators of those pinball tables, which is quite presumptive.
Reporting for duty.
Certainly.
Photonic burst.
Repent.
Probably could mute AMD Gaming.
Access denied.
Gamma Citro has an article, Deus Ex director Warren Spector shares how to find personal success in the industry. I'm not going to read that, but I'll put it out there so people can read it if they're interested.
For justice.
Borderlands 2 Game of the Year, episode 21 aired on my channel 4 hours ago.
Reporting for duty.
I wish more people were watching that, for sure. Not sure if there's much else that's gonna come out as far as news. This will be the last game of the stream, by the way, in case
Let me think.
I didn't make that obvious.
To battle.
Yeah, the next big question, a new Gundam Breaker game comes to Steam next week. How did I not open that article? I could have sworn I did. Yeah, the next big thing will be, do I need to even follow video game developers, or are there announcements just unnecessary on Twitter too? Eventually this may just boil down to, do I need to be on Twitter at all? It's like, if I'm getting down to the point where I don't even really want to see any news, or I want to only see what's on Steam. Here's a new obituary we'll talk about on Wednesday, I suppose. I don't want to get into it right now. Remember Me episode 10 aired on my channel 5 hours ago, another series that I kind of wish more people were watching. The Hearthstone Puzzle Lab Electro Storm Surge number 6 Spell Addiction Solution aired on my channel 5 hours ago. Doing a lot of extra work on those things.
For justice.
release specific videos for every solution of the Boomsday Puzzle Labs.
Reporting for duty.
Gamma Sutra, Australian study warns of link between loot boxes and problem gambling. No duh. If you are a obsessive person who has a problem with gambling, basically gambling through loot boxes is not a good solution for you. Not a good life choice. Alright, well that leaves me in a pretty good position. It's been a long stream. It's been an eventful stream too, though. We've made some new decisions on just taking a little bit of a vacation. No more listening or looking at Your Gamer or PC Gamer for articles. And if I see any more people on my Twitter feed that are just posting a bunch of SJW-ish stories, I'm also just kind of not gonna read it. Because it doesn't matter. It's not news. I've been inadvertently reporting on things that don't matter. It feels like, and I'm tired of it. So maybe I'm growing, maybe I'm maturing, maybe I'm gonna have to come back and fight the good fight later on. But I don't know. Yeah, there's nothing else on my Twitter feed right now as far as new news. So yeah, and hopefully this will eventually turn into shorter experiences on the streams, which will save me time and save me frustration. There is still a lot of thought though about maybe when 2019 starts, maybe in January, we're going to have considerably less videos airing on my channel. Maybe as early as November we'll have considerably less videos airing on my channel, and just gonna take it a little bit easier and take it back to when I first started this channel, and I really only had one, and then it went to 2 videos that were airing per day, and this just has snowballed to the point where at some points I was having 4, 5, 6 different things airing on some days. That's it for this recording though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game, or you can support me through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.